Welcome back. Thank you once again for hanging out with us. This is the one and only IT in the D show. I'm your host, Bob Waltonspiel, hanging out with producer, co-host extraordinaire, Randy Walker. Guest this week, it is not just a guest, it's a convention. It's Astronomicon. Mikey's in the house. We're going to be talking all things Astronomicon, April 12th through the 14th at the Burton Manor in Livonia, Michigan. You can find us online, itinthed.com. Do us a favor, give us a like on the socials, subscribe to us everywhere fine podcasts are sold. Don't forget meetup.com/itinthed. Third Thursday, we just had our event at Eastern Palace Club. Love that venue. Great group this time.
Yeah, pretty good turnout. A lot of new faces. It was pretty good.
Yeah. Some job seekers, some recruiters, some technicians. Is that what you call them? Technicians, technology professionals.
There you go. That's better.
It was good stuff though. I love the venue. The people are great.
Yeah.
Actually, I think we might ride through them. We might do a couple of Nancy whiskey over the summer, but I think we're going to stay here for as long as possible.
Yeah, we'll be there again at Eastern Palace Club on Thursday, April 18th. So that is the next time we will see everybody's smiling faces.
Nice. Mike, Astronomicon 7. We had you guys in studio for the first one, the inaugural, and we didn't know what to expect. And lo and behold, it's become my favorite con. And I'm a con junkie. But I just want to say hats off, and B, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Thank you for the compliment. We definitely have a vibe. You know what I mean? Did we know that when we started that it would be the feels? We kind of thought so, but yeah, no, it's definitely grown into its own monster, and we have carved out our little niche in the Michigan convention scene.
I prefer to call it niche, but no, I agree 1,000%. No, but see what you guys did to cons. There's some cons that were really cold. I don't even remember the name of it, but it was at Kobo only once, and Val Kilmer was there, and it
Michigan Comic-Con, yeah,
and it felt cold. There was no personality, and for whatever it is that you guys do, there's just this you can feel this energy and this culture. I don't even know how to describe it, but nothing else that I've ever been to feels like it. Just when you walk in, and it's not just the smell of pot jackets, it's it's everything. No, I had to poke fun once.
No, man. I agree. I think it's the fact that when you think of Comic Cons, man, you think big. Ours is a little bit more intimate. It doesn't have that gigantic, 50-story ceiling vibe, and it's in a concrete building, and you're kind of just walking into aluminum and concrete and stanchions. But yeah, it's definitely a vibe. And I think that starts with Twisted, myself, George, Dustin, and then our crew, our staff, our volunteers. They're all our people. I don't just take people off the street. And I feel like that attention to detail helps create the atmosphere that we want at our show. And, thankfully a lot of the core fans, that we've either brought with us from the beginning, or that, you guys kind of have rode with us since you met us. We're all like-minded people, and we all have a passion for this, as opposed to just being, passive. Oh, are you going to Comic-Con? I don't know what it's really called. I just call it Comic-Con, and it's in Livonia, or it's in Detroit, or it's in Grand Rapids, or it's in Novi, right? So I think the Astronomicon faithful really created that vibe for themselves.
See, you nailed it on the head, and I wasn't going to bring it up, but you bring up a great point that it's you guys. It's not no offense to any of the PR firms that run the bigger shows, or no offense to the smaller shows or anything in between. It's you guys. And the one thing you've done that is how do I put it? You guys made yourselves accessible, which is this double-edged sword of, hey, Astro, when's the event? And you're like, dude, it's right on the website. 2, how much is so-and-so? And you guys are always super polite. And you're like, it's not it's kind of like my mom asking me for tech support. And every once in a while, I just have to do this exhale. And she goes oh my God, you're mad at me. I'm like, no, I'm not mad. It's these, this barrage of questions you guys actually answer, which is I don't know how you do it. I really don't.
You know what? people outside of the Astronomicon world who know me, they would probably disagree with your statement of how nice I really am. But the Astro people, like I do go above and beyond for everybody that has anything to say or think or experience from an Astronomicon perspective, because I truly have said this in my work life. I never want to be the reason that we lose a fan, a customer, a friend. Like, I have that weird anxiety about me to where I'll definitely try to save you if you're upset about something, or go out of my way to, yes, be accessible. I literally get messages on a daily basis about Astronomicon related stuff. Hey, is the angry grandma going to be there Friday? Hey, what's this person charge for an autograph? Hey, is Kurt Angle still coming? Like, every day, personally, I get that, in addition to, from the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter side of Astro. And yeah, we did it to ourselves, and we do everything ourselves, from booking flights to hotels to programming. But we're able to do that at a high level because we have an effective team that works well together through the thick and the thin, and we have fun doing it. And so we're able to execute what we believe is at a high level for a mid-level show in our pocket.
Now, you don't have to respond to this, because this is something I need to vent about, because I'm always polite online too. And it doesn't matter what you guys do. There's somebody going, well, what about? And like, you're bringing in Mick Foley, who's a god in the wrestling world. And people go like, well, what about, and Rob Van Dam and like 8 other guys. But like, why don't you have Hulk Hogan? Or it's like, it's never enough. It's never good. And it drives me nuts. And I don't know what that frame of mind. They're like, oh, instead of just going, oh my God, thank you. They're like, it's one more. It's like, well, dude, just be happy. This is like, it gets better every year. Like, you guys outdo yourself every single year. And
and we try, and it's tough when you're using multiple genres, right? So we do pop culture, wrestling, and horror. So if I go heavy on wrestling, and this year our wrestling is out of this world. Foley, Kane, RVD, Sabu, Matt Hardy, Kurt Angle, Sergeant Slaughter, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Bobby Fulton. Like, I list those people, and people are like, oh, it's just a wrestling convention. Well, then I say, well, what do you like? Would you like horror? I've got Tony Todd. We've got Spencer Charnas from Ice Nine Kills. I've got a Scream reunion. We've got Bob Elmore. We've got Kane Hodder. We've got Dead Meat James. We've got Bill Moseley. Like, if that's not enough for you, what do you like? Well, we've got the voice of SpongeBob Squidward. I've got Billy West. We got Bill Morrison. We got 2 Power Rangers. Like, if there's not enough there for you in any of those 3 categories, I don't even know if you come anyways, but you're on social media to complain, because that's what it's there for, right? I complained today. I got in a car accident. Do I really care? I'm not going to bring it up to everybody, but social media is there for me to complain. So I'm going to do it. But no, man, I there's certain guests that I'd love to book, right? Like, I'd love to book Abraham Lincoln. It's not possible. So when people give me their oh my goshes, I just give them a more ridiculous oh my gosh, right? Hulk Hogan, he just did an event in Chicago. Half of my staff went to meet him at $200 a picture and $200 an autograph. Are the people who really want to meet Hulk Hogan in the Metro Detroit area wanting to come to my event and drop $450 for one event for one person?
I'll be honest, I'm not broke, and I wouldn't pay that out of principle. Like, it's
at $200, there's a level of guest for me, like, but they're all obscure. I'd pay $200 to meet Jonah Hill because he looks like my twin brother. But again, there's a certain line of guests that to get to that number, right? Like, people want the Undertaker. Again, it's a $200 photo or more. I don't want to subject our fans to that, because it hurts everybody when you bring in a massive guest like that.
Yeah, I remember when Stan Lee, when Motor City stepped up, and like Stan Lee and Shatner, and the lines were 3 miles long, and it was like that changed. I think that was like the turning point, because I remember, like, we talk about this all the time. It wasn't that long ago where $100 got you 5 autographs and 5 pictures with people. And I remember like
where the
my
picture
first,
just came with it. You weren't getting charged
yeah.
for a selfie. Yeah.
And then I remember the first one that did it to me was Tori Wilson, who it was like $30. And I said, "Oh, can we take a selfie?" She goes, "No, it's another 30." And I go, "Oh, you." And I got pissy. And it's funny how like now, like I brought my kid to the last Astro. She goes, "Dad, give me money." And I give her like $140. She comes back 15 minutes later, it's gone. And I'm like, I didn't, I'm still thinking like, back in my day, but my day was like 6 years ago. This wasn't that long ago.
You're right. No, man. And again, the game has changed, and we just try to take what people like and see how we can enhance it in some way, right? Like I personally prefer doing the professional photo ops as opposed to like taking the gamble with my cell phone at the tables, right?
Yeah.
So we do in costume photos that no other Michigan convention does. So you can meet Tony Todd dressed up like Candyman in a photo for the first time ever here in Detroit. We're doing the same thing. Kane from the WWE, he's going to wear the mask that he debuted with in the 90s. Mick Foley dresses up as 3 different characters. So we take what people like and we just try to like turn it on its edge and enhance it a little bit so you feel like you're getting a value.
Well, I remember when
these things are expensive.
They are. Yeah, Mike, because I remember when you announced Kane. And for wrestling guys, it's like, he's not quite on the Mount Rushmore, but he's pretty damn close, right? And everyone got into, screw Astro. He's a whatever political party he's in. And I'm like, oh my God, he's coming as the wrestling character. He's not coming as the mayor of,
And again, do I agree with his political views? Absolutely not. Did I announce Mayor of Knox County, Glenn Jacobs, will be there to shake hands and kiss babies? No, it literally says Kane wrestling legend on the website, so that unless you truly know and have a problem with his personal views that he won't be addressing, what's the big deal?
Trust me, I'm the guy that get yelled at for eating Chick-fil-A, so I don't even know why. Like, I'm sorry, I just wanted to say.
Well, not on Sundays.
No, right. They're putting
no, man. And again, like if you've been to our show or you even look at the guest list, it would be very far-fetched for someone to think that this isn't a borderline counterculture convention that features all of the stuff that people in that nature like. I've got Matt Riddle, who left the WWE for policy violations of marijuana. Twisted will also be there. Not sure if anyone knows what they're into. So again, man, it's a fun time. It is definitely not your average convention. It's an out of this world experience, and it's going to be fun for all ages. So leave the baloney at home, bring some friends, and that's really what it's all about.
Or you can bring bologna sandwiches. I don't think
bring the bologna. I've got bread.
No, because like I'm just like now I'm just thinking about events that have gone on, and the one movie, oh my God, it's the new horror movie. There's like 3 of them, and it's like the guy's a clown. It's not what is it called?
Are you thinking Terrifier?
Terrifier, thank you. But he was at like some store on Gratiot, a costume store. My daughter stood in line, and it was like 3.5 hours. So like here I'm looking at, all right, you can go to get, and it was still expensive to get a stuff sign in a picture, or you have everyone sitting side by side. That's the crazy thing with this is there are no Cedar Point lines. Everyone's just sitting and hanging out. Like it's. Oh, and speaking of which, are they going to fix the air conditioner this year? Because I remember last year, or was it the 0.5 one? It was like 3,000 degrees.
The 0.5 one. So we took a lot of risks with the 0.5 one. No, man, because I felt like doing a show in June gave us some opportunities to like try a new layout, try taking the concerts off site and expanding the room. And what we found was people love the all-inclusive, like one-stop shop that is Astronomicon, right? They love the concerts being on site. They love everything being all ages. And And I guess a lot of the fans are a lot like me. They don't like change, right? So I'm okay with that. I didn't enjoy that the token lounge that we took the concerts to wasn't all ages, because our fan base really is from 2 to 99. And when you can't let a 12-year-old go to a concert or a 14-year-old go to the VIP party, like, we're doing our fans a disservice. And so bringing everything back on site, addressing some of those issues, right? Not doing it in March. We're convinced Mother Nature hates Astronomicon. So if we can get as far away from the weather and still stay in our pocket of springtime, I think that that'll help us a little bit too, with like parking and stuff like that.
The first 4 years, I think, was Death Storm 2000. And it was like mild. It's Astro weekend. It's just going to be a shitstorm of snow.
100%. We took all those risks, and every one of them were like, first year, 18 inches of snow. Second year, last day, 8 inches of snow. Third year, snow all weekend.
But the crazy thing is, your conference, unlike a few of them are like this, but like, people drive in. Like, it is like a Midwest thing. This is not a Detroit thing, and you guys don't promote it as that.
No, and the other thing is because we always have a lot of events in and around the hotel side of things. Like, it is a party. Friday night, late night, hanging out. Saturday, all the way up until, we do events till 2-3 in the morning every night, to where it's like, when do you sleep? And me as the promoter, like, we have to tag in and out, where I'm like, all right, Dustin, you're staying up till 4. I'm going to bed at 2. I'll get up for the early shift at 8 a.m. And there's not a lot of sleep during Astronomicon, because it is a party.
Sleep when you're dead. That's what, my philosophy on life. I'm thinking of old stories, and the one thing I've always was funny is one of your volunteer drivers is an old friend of mine, and he had Trish Stratus in his car, and he's like poking fun of me, like, Trish is in my car, you're not going to meet her. And then I'm just hanging out with Ming at his booth, and she's like literally at the booth next to him. So I'm like, we're texting back and forth. But that's the thing, like, y'all brought Trish Stratus in, like, the people. I don't think people either appreciate or realize like, just how big some of these people are, and the fact that you can get them here in lowly, Livonia, Michigan. It's huge.
100%. Like, when we think about our body of work and the people that we've worked with, gosh, Kevin Smith, Kevin Eastman, the creator of the Ninja Turtles. I worked directly with the WWE pre-pandemic for Alexa Bliss, Trish Stratus. We've had Foley. We've had Lita. I've had Booker T. May he rest in peace. We had Scott Hall. We've had Kevin Nash. Jake the Snake Roberts, Goldust when he was still Goldust. Like, our body of work from a wrestling perspective is insane. But, we've had Linda Blair. She's an Academy Award nominated actress. Tiny Lister, Bam Margera, Anthony Michael Hall, like, literally of the Brat Pack. Sometimes
I got to interview him. Yeah.
Of credit. But it does get to be really exciting, when there's someone we want for us, right? And for me, last year was John Lovitz, right? Like, having John Lovitz in Livonia, Michigan for our convention, that was just like some Mike and George stuff.
So can I tell you, I got to tell you a John Lovitz story. So I am in Minneapolis on business, and I end up seeing why can't I ever think of his name? The roast master. He's the head of all of the roast of everybody.
What's his name?
Yeah, he's dressed, dude. Yeah. He used to be like, I'll think of it in a minute. But I see him in our hotel bar, and I'm like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Staying as far the hell away from you." And I'm like, "I got Jeffrey Ross."
Jeff Ross. Yeah.
So I'm like, "I got roasted by Jeff Ross. It's the best day ever." And I ran it back at him with his Boston Scully hat or whatever. I'm like, we're in Minnie. You can't wear it. Anyway, long story short, I'm in the airport, and I see John Lovitz, and I'm in a wheelchair because I just had my knees are still, I had my knee surgery, and I got a pink sport coat on and a mask, and I'm getting pushed through the wheelchair, and there's John Lovitz, and and I could see his eyes, like, he's got a mask on, right? A COVID mask, but I could see his eyes, and he's staring at me. I'm talking for 15 minutes. And I'm like, I keep telling my buddies, I'm like, dude, Lovitz is like, what is he? He's staring at me. We all booked first class because we're idiots. And I sit down, and here comes Lovitz through, and he's staring at me again because he's sitting in coach, and he just looks at me and he just shakes his head like you effers are in first class, and I go sit in coach. And then I end up Googling he was at Mark Ridley's or something that weekend. But then when he was here, I didn't want to tell him that story because it sounds ridiculous. Hey, I'm that guy in the wheelchair you stared at for 15 minutes.
An obscene amount of time.
Yeah. And that one in Scott Hall, my favorite bathroom moment of all time, when he turned the lights off on me and Eric Gutierrez, like, hey, you two are gonna have a dark match, and turn the lights off. We still giggle about it like we're 8 years old.
100%. That is, even for us being on our side of things, like that is a good story because Nick, who was a big part of our convention, was Scott's handler that weekend. And he told us that story that night. He's like, he went to the bathroom and turned the lights off on everybody who was left there when he was done. And he's like, y'all are having a dark match, and just walked away. Like, y'all were stuck in a dark bathroom with your dicks out. Like,
and we giggled for like 8, like until we could figure out we have to move. Finally, we're like, I think that's the end of the day, dude. That's the thing. Like us 40, I'm 50 now, but like the 35, this is like our childhood, and it's like it brings us back. Like most of us are still mentally 15, so like the fact that we can buy the GI Joe aircraft carriers for sale, and I bought a Shogun Warrior Boba Fett for way too much money, but like it's like the middle finger to our mom that said she couldn't afford it. Like this is what Comic-Con is to me. Like
I'm right there with you. We just went to Horror Hound. It's like 4 hours. We went on a Friday. We just got back, and it was to network and mingle and whatever. And, me and the couple of Astronomicon guys that I went with, they're like, hey, we got to stop at this toy store. And I was like, okay, perfect. It's on the way home, whatever. $400 later, I'm like, we should not have stopped at this toy store.
Yeah. But see, I'm the idiot that rips the packages open. I put them in like bookshelves. Like I'm not keeping stuff in the boxes. Like,
nope, it is guys that never seen the light of day. Like if I could just hide it so it's only mine, it's my precious. Like,
yeah. See, like the problem was I bought a bunch of stuff back in the day, and there's like 2 of the things I ended up selling. One was the 6 Sting set from WCW, or like the 6 faces of Sting. Uh-huh. I got a couple $100 for that, and then I sold like the 4 Horsemen with Mongo. And,
okay.
I had that, but then what am I gonna do with all these? I got figures coming out of my nose, like all these years of collecting. Like I got pictures. I'm just looking at my floor in my office. There's pictures all over the floor that I can't hang because I have no room on the wall. There comes a time where it's like I told my friend Mark, I'm like, stop buying me Funkos for my birthday. Like I'm done.
Yeah, no. And so as we continue on with the Astro and the different guests we bring, like I'm getting more and more things autographed to where I'm like, it's just obscene. Like the amount of things that I have in my basement in totes. What am I doing?
Yeah. Well, especially like, I got a Stan Lee Captain America shield autographed, and a Stan Lee, like all, Flash Gordon was just in Toledo and I didn't go. Randy, are you shocked? I didn't go. I have, I'm looking, like I have a Dave Santia Flash Gordon painting signed by Flash Gordon. I have a Flash Gordon movie poster signed. I have a Flash Gordon Jets jersey signed. Like I'm good. I have every action figure ever made. Like I have all of it. So it's like, why am I going to go unless I could get them out for, for drinks and blow? Like, hey man, do you still party like Ted? And Ted, I'd be an idiot, right? But
no, and I feel like I'm the same way. Like I'm collecting Dave Santia paintings because every time we do a monumental guest, he will paint them, and then I feel obligated to buy them as a like trophy. So I've got like 5 foot by 3 foot paintings of both Clerks, Kevin Smith, Corey Taylor. My wife is like, we're not hanging all of these in our living room.
Right.
So the basement walls no longer have, drywall. They're now covered in Santia canvas.
I had an opportunity to buy an autographed David Prowse Darth Vader head painted in front of David Prowse, signed by him. And I'm going to drop his name. I make fun of him all the time. Dennis Barger hustled me on the Flash Gordon. He drove me up because I'm in there with a tan sport coat and a Flash Gordon t-shirt. I had Mark written all over me, and it was a live auction. He got me into 4 figures, that clown. And that's why I know I married a good girl, because she's like, you always make more money. Who cares? Buy it. You're never going to see this again. I'm like, God
It's
damn right. That's why I love
yep.
you. But I didn't buy the Prouse, and I'm like, that one hurts. That one hurts. So what's the one thing for you that you either passed on, or like, as far as like buying stuff? Is there something you're still screaming about that, like, oh my God, I should have bought it?
You know what? It's always like small stuff that like, oh, I could have got this so cheap, and now it's like so expensive, right? Like,
Yeah.
Early on in my like collecting as an adult, I stumbled across like auctions, right? In-person auctions. And I would buy some shit cheap, like, oh, there's a cool 70s lunchbox that's $7. At $7, I'll just give the shit away. So I gave it to George because it was like real, monsters, Universal Monsters. But they had an auction that was all WWF LJN figures.
Ooh.
All the rubber ones, it was like someone's whole collection. They had them like sealed, carded, and I'm like, I'm cheap, and that's the problem. But they were also going semi cheap to where like not one of them was more than $100. And so I'm like, I'm just gonna pick the cheapest one that's like 20 or 30, bid on it and see what happens. And I'm watching them go 80, 60, 40, 80, 70, 90, 100, 100, 100. I bid $30 on Paul Orndorff, right? I got it carded. And in retrospect, like I should have gone there with $1,000 because I would have tripled my money. Because now I'm the one spending $300 a figure on this shit 10 years later.
Yeah, easy. Well, then you got to keep it good. Like my thing was, I collected baseball cards. I did everything in my human power to get every baseball card I could possibly get up till like I graduated high school in 91. So like up until like 92, I stopped. Like right when Barry Sanders and Chris Webber and Shaq, then I was done. And I'm looking at all the stuff I have, and like if I would have kept those, the Star Wars cards would have been the ones that were worth the most, and I trashed them all. They're all junk. Like, the corners aren't crisp, but they just look like a kid messed with it. That's the problem. Like I kept all the crappy baseball cards that aren't worth shit. And then the ones that were worth, I just absolutely destroyed everything. So,
I was just telling a buddy, I remember having like bullshit garage sales, like when I was like 12 to 14. And I was like, I'm going to sell all my muscle men, all my monsters in my pocket.
Oh, no.
I remember throwing, when I moved out of my mom's house, call it 2007, 8, I threw away my Ghostbusters firehouse. And then like an asshole, I had to go rebuy it for $200 like 8 years later when I started collecting shit again.
But it's not yours. That's the problem. That one's
no, but I was very specific, like the figures that I knew that I had, right? I had like hodgepodge. My mom never bought all from the same line of figures. So you'd have like Winston would be Screaming Heroes and Venkman would be like Slimed. I went and bought every one of those figures that meant something to me, like on card, pristine, and now they're all hanging in my basement as like my son is like, oh, can we open your toys? I was like, we don't open dad's toys. Nope.
I don't know if you know who he's a professional wrestler. His name's Joe Coleman, and Genetic Jackpot. He's a huge Marvel guy, like more than anyone I've met in my life.
Okay.
And his basement is a shrine to Marvel, and it's like actual human torture. His nephews will come over that are like 6, 7, 8 years old, and they'll go in the basement. They're like, Uncle Joe, can we? He's like, don't touch it, I'll kill you. Like, just because it's his, like, so I'm like, well, I hope you have a crate of like loose to let them play, but they stare at all the really good stuff on the wall. And it's like, I can't touch it. Like ruining these kids' lives.
100%.
But hey, April 12th through the 14th, if you are anywhere in and around Detroit, you really need to be here. Great. The artists, the guys that like the Dirk Mannings of the world that are all local guys putting out really cool books. I always like supporting them just because like art now, especially with AI and stuff, art is becoming weird.
Yep.
Really weird. So like anything I can do to support the art community, I always like it. And then man, the lineup of people for pictures and for autographs is absolutely lunacy. Like if you're into, like I said, horror movies, I'm just looking, you got the guy from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Why didn't you have the guy from 1? I mean, come on, Mike. Like, what are you doing?
Gunnar Hansen's no longer with us, but
it's no excuse. And then you have to get Bill Moseley. He loves his White Castles. I don't know if we introduced him to him. I remember like we bought a Crave case in the eearly days.
Yeah, like that's Astro 1. He's been with us almost every year. We love Bill. Really? Kane Hodder's the same way.
Yeah.
Those guys, and again, it's amazing to see who's coming back and who we're getting, new that's given us a chance, like bringing a couple of Walking Dead actors, right? Adam Green and Joe Lynch, who are like directors and they did Wrong Turn 2 and then created the Hatchet series. Bill Morrison, we love Detroit guys. Bill Morrison is our guy. He's from Detroit. He does The Simpsons. He does Futurama, tag teaming that with Billy West. I mean, that's amazing to us. Walter Jones, he's another Detroit guy, the first Black Power Ranger and technically the first Black superhero on television. So
and of course they had to make him the black one and they had to make the Asian one the yellow one. It's like, you dirty Power Ranger people, like what?
And they made the red one crazy.
Right. And then Ming Chen's not going to be here, so every picture we take has to have a middle finger and say F you Ming, death to Ming. So
no, but we'll have Ming in the future at one of our events we got coming up this year. So
he's a homer. I know. He'll be here. He's okay. I don't know how his travel schedule's bananas. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, between traveling and being a foodie, like that man should just have his own TV show, I think.
Dive bars, coffee, like it's all the same places too. It's like this amazing dive bar, this amazing coffee house, whatever this hot yoga fart, whatever he does, yeah. Love you, Ming. I know he's not listening. That's all right. Hey, Mike, Astronomicon, thank you. Astronomicon.com, April 12th through 14th, Burton Manor in Livonia, Michigan. We will see you there. And can't thank you enough for the time, Mike. Appreciate you.
Thank you guys. Love the IT and the D.
All right. Awesome, man. Hey, we're going to wrap things up for this episode of IT and the D. On behalf of Bob and Randy, do us all a favor. Drink up your drinks. Get your phone numbers. You don't got to go home. You just got to get the hell out of here. See you next week. Drive careful. Beat it.